Good morning, and a good morning it is indeed. I'm here in the Eastern Sierra on the West Walker River. So this is a little north of Bridgeport and just a phenomenal river. It is late June and this is the first time that I've fished this river. I have wanted to fish this river for an awfully long time, so I'm glad to finally have made the trip. It is morning. I was up real early before the crack of dawn, getting ready, and just hiked in. And I think this is where I'm gonna start my fishing for the day. Now, this is a pretty big river compared to what I'm used to fishing, so I'm not expecting much. I find the larger the river, the more difficult it is to fish, because the more area you have to cover, and I don't know, I just think they're difficult. So, but I'm gonna gear up here, put my boots on. I've been hiking for just about a half hour or so. I'm gonna fish upstream a little bit from here, and then fish back downstream to my camp. This is called the Levitt Meadows area, and I'm camped close to the river, but I wanted to hike a ways in before I started fishing. So I brought my boots. I'm gonna gear up and put my rod together and get to fishing. It's still early, and I'm gonna spend the morning fishing before it gets too warm. All right, well, I'm all geared up here, and I've waited for the sun to come up over the ridge behind me in hopes that it activates any of the fish that are in here. I've been walking the banks and haven't seen a whole lot. Hopefully the sun brings them out. Fishing today with my 9.5 foot 5-weight rod, a little sturdier of a rod that I've fished with in the past couple weeks. I'm going with the dual dry combo, 2 dry flies, 1 big black beetle looking thing, and then 1 little caddis looking thing. I like to make use of the tag that forms when you tie the leader on, the tippet onto the leader. So that's how I typically fish 2 flies, is 1 on the tag and 1 on the end of the tippet. So I'm gonna start fishing this hole right here, this soft little pocket, see if there's any fish in here. So wish me luck. All right, well, so far I've had no luck on this stretch up here. This pocket looks kind of nice though. This stream is real nice to wade in. It is flowing pretty good, so I gotta be careful, but I'm hoping for most of the part, it's pretty shallow. But I'm hoping this hole is deep right here, and I'm gonna see if there's any fish in here. Jeez, having all kinds of problems. It's windy, makes it not easy to fish and cast. Up there I had been casting right into the wind. So far I haven't seen any signs of trout. No jumping, no spooking. I don't know where the fish are in this river. Looks like a fairly deep hole. There's gotta be a fish in here, and he's gotta be hungry for a black beetle. See if I can get over here into this calm water. The wind's died down a little bit. I'm walking right along a drop off here, so this Seems like it's a deep pool. Whoa, almost lost my balance. I'm going to try to work my fly along this back bank over here. It's getting real soft. Quicksandy right there, so I don't want to walk over there. Alright, well that section of river sure did look nice, but it didn't produce. So, didn't even see any fish, nothing surfacing. Didn't spook any fish when I was crossing the river. There's some horses. So I'm gonna head on downstream a little bit, see if we can find some fish. Well, the West Walker River, didn't pan out for me yesterday. I fished downstream back to the campground. Same results. No bites, not even any signs of fish. So, not sure where they all were, but that's how the ball bounces sometimes when you're an angler. So, yesterday afternoon, I moved my camp to a place that I'm just leaving now. It's called Obsidian Campground. It's a nice little campground. It's right close to the Little Walker River, which I had inclinations of fishing, but ended up running out of ice in my cooler. So now I'm leaving this campground and that nice little campsite, and I'm heading down to Bridgeport so I can fill up my cooler with ice. And from there, I'll probably find a campground somewhere around in the Bridgeport area. There's a couple campgrounds that I'd like to check out and look close to good fishing opportunities. Buckeye Campground and Green Creek Campground. And I'll also scope some dispersed free camping along the way. So that's what we're up to right now. We're on our way. This is about a 3-mile dirt road, and then it's about a 20-mile trip back to Bridgeport to ice up and figure out what's next. So I'll check in again from wherever that ends up being. Good morning. Sunrise here in the Eastern Sierra. I am at Buckeye Campground outside the Bridgeport area. I drove here yesterday and got this nice little campsite here behind me. It was chilly last night, down into the low 40s. So nice cool evening, and trying to figure out what my plans are for today. I'll either be fishing the East Walker River, which would require about a 10-mile drive or so to get down to the river, or I'll just be hiking from my campground to fish Buckeye Creek. So, having some coffee right now, and I'm hoping that will help with the decision-making process. And I'm gonna watch the sunrise. You can see the sun's coming up in that direction, just over that ridge in the distance. So still pretty early, and I have time to decide. So whichever I decide, it should be good. One other thing that's worth mentioning as the sun comes up here casting a nice morning glow on the pine forest, is that this campground, this campsite was didn't nearly have as many bugs as the last two campsites I was at. Those last two campsites, I was camped in pretty thick aspen stands, and those seemed to harbor lots of insects, so it was a little bit unbearable at those two campgrounds, and I spent a lot of time just in the camper trying to shelter from the bugs. So this, I'm camped mostly in pine forest, and there doesn't seem to be the same kind of insect problem. I mean, there is definitely bugs, but not swarming like was happening at the other two. So real happy with this campground and looking forward to the fishing the next couple days from here. All right, here we are. We're on the banks of the East Walker River again. I was just here about a month ago. Did a lot of fishing, not a lot of catching. I did catch one decent brown, but we're gonna give it another try today. Gonna fish subsurface flies today, so wet flies. On the bottom, I'm using 4X line. On the bottom, I'm using this big tungsten beadhead, big stonefly nymph. And then on the tag, I'll have a little midge drifting behind it. So we'll see how it looks today. We'll see if there's any action. All right, well, I wasn't filming here, but I got a nice little brown. And this is I would say this is a 14-incher or so. So, good sign. Sorry I wasn't filming, but this is a nice brown. Definitely my nicest fish on this river so far. So the fly's out. I'm gonna go ahead and let him back in and get back to fishing here. Bummed I wasn't filming for that catch, but that was a nice fish. And I'm gonna try again in the same spot basically. See if he's got any buddies. I'm fishing this seam right over here where the current meets this slack water. And that's where I got the take. He took the big stonefly nymph I have on the end of my line. And I'm able to access this spot pretty nicely by wading out. And let's see if we can do that again. That was phenomenal. That was by far my best fish on this river, and by far my best brown trout ever. So let's see if he's got an older brother. It's nice to see them take that fly. That's a great sign that the browns are out and they're feeding right now. I can see one across the way here sipping on the surface right over there, so they're still feeding. There, I can see him. I see you over there feeding, buddy. Ah, dang. Hopefully my fly is still intact here. Yep, we're still good. All right, just a couple more casts. I'm gonna have to turn my camera off. I'm working on limited battery power, which is why I'm trying to conserve battery. All right, well, that was a real nice brown. Real happy that I got that. I'll come back to this spot because it's a real nice spot. But I'm gonna head downstream, maybe upstream. I saw some anglers upstream, so I might head downstream to see if there's any more similar spots. Then I can always come back to this and give this another go. So we'll mosey on downstream a little bit. And it's gonna be a warm day today. The sun is pretty fierce, but this river is really pleasant for wading. I think the flows are right at a sweet spot for fishing this river at about 250 feet per second, cubic feet per second. So it feels real nice in the river. Able to wade up to my thighs, and it's not too cold. Just makes for a really comfortable fishing experience. So should be a good morning. All right, here we are. We're downstream a little bit, and here's a nice looking fish just hanging out in this real slow moving pool. So I think I'm gonna try to get down here. The water's moving so slowly. It's gonna be tough to fool this fella, but that looks like a real nice fish, so I'm gonna have to give it a try. All right, well, I didn't get the take, but I finally got one. It's a good rainbow. And finally got him on that dry fly. See if I can get him in. There you go. Nice rainbow. Is the fly out? Yeah, it looks like the fly's. No, the fly's still in him. Oh. It's on the other side. Maybe it's out. All right, good. It's out. Beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. All right, off you go, buddy. All right, I'm gonna give it a few more minutes at this spot here, and then I'm gonna move on. There's been a fish surfacing down here, so let's see if I can entice him. Not real happy with the battery life on this GoPro. It seems to use about a 1% per minute. So you only get 60 minutes, if that, maybe not even that, per battery. So trying to conserve battery power. That's why I'm not getting these hookups on camera. All right. Well, this has been a good spot, but I'm gonna move along, see if I can find another one. All right, well, I hate to leave a hole with feeding trout, so I switched up my fly, and we'll see if I have any luck with this new one. Been trying to catch this guy right here in front of me for like an hour. Let's see if he has any interest in this. He's coming to check it out. Here he comes. He wanted to have a look. God, there's fish jumping all over the place. Well, doesn't seem to be too much interest in this new fly. All right, I switched up to a little hopper looking thing, and I've seen some good sized fish jumping in this section, so I'm gonna try to entice them with this nice sized hopper. All right, well, I think that's going to do it here on the East Walker River. It is about 12:30, so things seem to have shut down. Mid to late morning, the action was really good out here. Fish were seemed very active. So, all in all, a good day. Caught one rainbow, caught one brown. Both were very nice fish, and I'm happy with that, considering. Did I just see a fish surface? Probably not. Anyways, I'm happy with that, considering I was kind of expecting a goose egg coming into it this morning. So, real happy with the two nice fish. Real happy with the day of fishing out here on the East Walker River. So, we'll check back in at camp, and I'll sum up my thoughts on the East Walker versus the West Walker River back at camp. All right, well, here we are back at camp after an outstanding morning of fishing on the East Walker and a phenomenal lunch in Bridgeport, a great burger at the barn. So if you're ever in the Bridgeport area looking for a burger, the barn is your spot. So I thought I'd wrap up this video. I have more fishing to do on this trip, but I thought I'd wrap up this video by comparing and contrasting the West Walker River and the East Walker River. Those are the last two waters that I fished here. So the West Walker River, spectacular setting. What a beautiful river. What a spectacular mountain setting. The meadows and the canyons. Spectacular setting. But in my experience, the fishing wasn't as spectacular as the setting was. The East Walker River, not quite the spectacular setting of the West Walker, but phenomenal fishing. And it's still beautiful scenery for sure, but just not the spectacular setting that you get on the West Walker. But fishing was phenomenal. A lot of fish. You could tell there was a lot of fish in that river. It's a tailwater coming out of Bridgeport Reservoir, so that probably produces an optimal environment for fish to grow and thrive in. So whereas the West Walker River is just a freestone river flowing out of the mountains, a little more inconsistent with the flows and just the nature of the stream. Whereas the East Walker is a lot more consistent, flowing out of Bridgeport Reservoir. And while I only caught two fish, both were nice fish, real nice fish, one brown, one rainbow. I know that there was a lot more in there because I could see them. They were jumping, they were real active, versus the West Walker River where I saw no signs of fish activity where I was. So when you have that kind of fish activity, you have that anticipation on every cast that this is going to be the cast that produces the catch. And that's really what it's all about, is that anticipation when you're out there fishing. That's what makes it exciting. and was able to catch 2 beautiful fish. So great day, 2 great rivers, one prettier than the other, one better to fish than the other. So, and who knows, maybe there's somebody out there watching this somewhere that says this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. The West Walker River is head and shoulders above the East Walker River. So that may be the case, and I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to both the Walker Rivers. Just talking my experience. So that'll wrap this video. I do have a couple other smaller creeks that I'd like to fish up here on this trip, but I'll save those for other videos. So stay tuned for those. And in the meantime, signing off for now from the Eastern Sierra, and I'll see you next time.